All right, here's the second part of the nutrition PowerPoint. You guys have this, but I'll go over some areas and just kind of emphasize some parts, and then we can go again over class. Go over it again in class. But we left off at carbohydrates. Ultimately, what I need you to know is that the carbohydrate base molecule is glucose, right? And so it all breaks down to glucose. As we start putting pieces of glucose, molecules of glucose together, you get more and more complex carbohydrates. The storage form in the body is this glycogen. So you have the base molecule of glucose, and then the storage form is this compact storage, just of a bunch of different glucose molecules packed in together. So make sure you have an idea of all these. All of these are the what carbohydrates are. They are the main preferred source. It's very easy and quick for our body to get energy out of carbohydrates, and that's kind of the preferred form. We're built to be a carbohydrate metabolizing organism. Definitely make sure you know your calories per gram as we go through those. You should know your general percentage window of calories. The general concept of having an idea that the more glucose molecules you get, the more complex you get. So you have monosaccharides, disaccharides. You guys should know that fructose. If I say fructose, you should know that's a glucose or carbohydrate. Same thing with lactose. It's a sugar. It's a basic kind of a simple sugar disaccharide. And then as we get bigger and bigger, what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to make you categorize all of these as a monosaccharide or all of these as a disaccharide or even polysaccharides. We're not getting to that part. Nothing much to say here other than just being aware that there are non-sugar sweeteners, right? So sugar alcohols that don't really have any calories. We can talk about the good and bad, right? There's definitely some bad that you guys have probably heard. I do want to talk about as we get past that polysaccharide level and we go, okay, now we're getting complex chains. We start to get into this starch category, and we get these to keep this all together, especially out in when we talk about vegetables. We really talk about these this portion of undigestible carbohydrate, which is you get into the starch stuff and this fiber and starch areas, and you just get really, really complex, lots of different, lots of glucose molecules packed in together, and you can see some of the stuff here. I do want to either remind or at least inform you guys of this glycemic index concept. Basically, the glycemic index is just how fast does your blood glucose rise after you eat a certain thing. So when we talk about carbohydrates that have a high glycemic index mean you eat it, your blood sugar goes up super quick, and then you crash super quick. So that's typically your high sugary foods. The low glycemic index is this much more gradual rise and gradual decrease. So you have energy for a lot longer period. And you can kind of see, or you probably can guess, that the high glycemic index foods are not as healthy as the low glycemic index foods. And just to give you kind of an idea, just generally, you don't have to know what specific foods are where. You probably want to know what low and what high is. But this kind of gives you, if you want to pause that, and you can kind of check that out and see, what foods are high, what foods are not. Usually the refined foods are usually a little bit higher. Taco shell, that's a good processed carbohydrate, which gives us a pretty high glycemic index. These are the numbers you have to know. This is the fiber is that non-digestible part that basically all the glucose molecules kind of sit on and connect to. You have some of it is dissolves in water, some of it does not dissolve in water. That video that I put on the Brightspace, you got to know it. It's 1 minute of packed information. It has a lot of these same bullet points on there. Basically, when you have somebody who maybe be having diarrhea or going to the bathroom too much, and you're like, should I give them fiber? Well, certain fiber you can, right? We don't want to speed the movement in that situation. We want to slow the movement. We want to make that jelly, get that fiber to turn into a gel and kind of slow down stuff. Both of these are very helpful for reducing heart disease or putting in a good risk. And so here's I got the same pictures over and over. Sorry. These are the good stuff that fiber is important for. Oh, let me go back real quick. This slide right here, I don't think I said it. This number right here, grams per day, is for females. This grams per day is for males. And let me tell you, getting that through the diet that we have is super hard. You really have to make an effort, and it's a difficult deal. That wraps up the macronutrients. There is one more, not really a nutrient, but there's one more food substance that gives us calories, and that's our alcohol. It is empty calories. That means we get no nutritional value, but we do, for each gram, we get 7 calories of energy. And so our body functions on that. We are displacing the other good calories because we're putting these calories in. And it is actually now supersedes carbohydrates as the preferred source because your body wants to get rid of it. Your body wants to break that down, get rid of it. This is seen as a poison, so your body is immediately trying to get rid of it. It is a central nervous system depressant. And so alcohol definitely has a caloric value. I hate saying value when I say alcohol, but yeah, there it is. The rest of this now gets into the micronutrients, your vitamins and minerals. I'll talk a little bit more about vitamins and what their role is, and then I won't talk as much about the minerals in this part right here. I do want you to have an idea of number one, what vitamins do. You do need to know what are the fat soluble vitamins. Basically, these are stored. So if I take in vitamin A today and I don't use it, then whatever's left over gets stored. So that's nice. I can save it for later when I need it in the fat soluble vitamin world. I do want you to have an idea of, as I list all these vitamins out, I do want you to have an idea of what they do. On the vitamins, I'm not going to be picky on the actual amount, the RDA, the recommended daily allowance. I'm not going to worry about that. They're not in bold. The bold ones in this PowerPoint are the ones you have to know. These aren't bolded, so don't worry about that. So vitamin A, most people have an idea. It's vision. Have that connection. But then you get vitamin D, which is like the super vitamin. Like everybody loves vitamin D because it does so much, right? Check out all these. Check out all these things that vitamin D does. Definitely is a cardiovascular risk reducer. It decreases inflammation. There's anti-cancer components to this aspect. There's the immune system effects. There's birth defects, arthritis, blood pressure. Man, there's a whole bunch. Look at all these things. Maintain muscle strength. Is there more? Oh, heck yeah, there's more. So there's a number of stuff that vitamin D, I'm going to stop it right there. A lot of things that vitamin D does, and so make sure you have a good concept or idea of what those are. All right, then we get into the rest of the fat-soluble vitamins. I do want you to have an idea of what an antioxidant is, vitamin E being one of those. Yes, you definitely need to know E is blood, brain, skin health, and we got vision and blood clotting for vitamin K. I want you to have an idea of antioxidant. All right, remember we talked free radicals. Free radicals are harmful molecules that damage blood vessels, which lead to cardiovascular disease. Those free radicals, those damaging molecules, are created through reactions which take off an oxygen. And so you get this oxidizing molecule that is harmful. And so if we put vitamin E in there, that stabilizes those reactions and keeps that molecule from becoming a free radical. So that's what the importance of the antioxidant part is. I went backwards. Hold on. No, I didn't. I didn't go backwards. Did I go backwards? No. All right. So we're at vitamin K, A, D, E, and K. Then we get to the water-soluble vitamins. Make sure you have an idea of the B and C's, right? Make sure you know that, if I take a bunch of vitamin C today, whatever I don't use, it's getting excreted. I'm not going to get to save it. So poor me. You should know, most people know that vitamin C has a role in immune health, right? But there's other stuff. It is the other antioxidant. So make sure you have an idea of that. We'll probably talk a little bit about the values right here, excuse me, on just in a context of supplementation. So, but anyway, no vitamin C, what that is. Then you get into your B vitamins, and I'll put those up here. B1 and B2 are pretty much, processes of energy stuff, so you can kind of have an idea. I do want you to have an idea that thiamine is B1, riboflavin B2, and then what they do. Don't worry about the amounts that we need per day. Niacin being the B3, more energy and cellular function, that kind of stuff. Pantothenic acid, again, kind of the same deal. So make sure you have those ideas. Then you get into the really, I say good vitamins, but they're all good vitamins, right? The ones that most people have heard of. Folic acid as most people when they're pregnant. Pregnant females are advised to up the folic acid in those prenatal vitamins as we go through there. I'm going to put up B12 and put all that in there. I want to point out right here homocysteine control. I want to tell you homocysteine is a amino acid. It is a amino acid that is formed and comes from usually high fatty charred meats, that kind of stuff. That is high levels of homocysteine relate to cardiovascular disease. So we don't want that, and so to combat that, we typically rely on our vitamin B, our B vitamins to kind of control that homocysteine level. So make sure you have a good idea of that as we go through there. Then the rest of this is, we kind of get into some quick stuff that is basic, and so you should have all this. I'm not going to really sit here and try to sell you on the fact that water is important, and you can see some of that kind of stuff. So you can see some of those. I think I'll use the class time that we have to talk about the daily intakes and what those are and where those come from, the RDAs or that kind of stuff as we go through there. And then we did talk a little bit about food labels, and we can talk more about those as well if we want to on what's out there. Oh, there's those donuts. Look at these donuts. This is the donut food label. Only 3 donuts per serving, and look, you're getting already 40% of your saturated fat in 3 measly little donuts. Yeah, that's not even worth it to me. I talked a little bit about the My Plate stuff. We can talk a little bit more and follow up on those. You should look up the term phytonutrient. It's kind of a fancy term. You'll probably be unimpressed when you see it, but when you see what it is. But look it up, and I'll ask you when we get back to class on our next time. And then then you have the rest of the My Plate stuff that's on there. That's pretty self-explanatory. You should have a kind of a concept of vegetarian types. We'll talk a little bit about those and some of the ramifications in our next class, and then the other, I can show you some other stuff, and then the eating disorder portion of this PowerPoint. Again, you've heard of these, right? So you've heard of anorexia. So the information that's on there is pretty straightforward. You should have a decent idea. Same thing with bulimia. You've been exposed to hopefully some of these kind of things, and this is we can talk about it in class if you really want to. But that binge purge cycle, either it's coming up somehow, either it's coming out the front with the vomiting, or it's coming out the back with the use of laxative, which is just kind of it's a brutal way to think of that kind of stuff. Finally is this binge order diseating. You can kind of see some of that as well. All right, I got through that. I don't like to go too long on these, so I like to keep it under 15 minutes, which I got to 14. So I'll show you my Squidward eating, and we'll stop it.